Hi everyone. In this video, I'll talk about what mastery-based learning and grading is and how I'm going to be using it in our class. The big points I'm going to discuss are what are some of the drawbacks of a traditional points-based grading scheme and how is that different from mastery-based grading? How will assessments and reassessments work in our class? How am I going to determine your grade in our class? And some final takeaways about why I'm using mastery-based grading in our class. If I'm a student in a traditional points-based grading system, I would first learn content in my class over a couple of weeks, and then I would take an assessment, a quiz or an exam to gauge how well I understand those things. So let's say I got an 80% on my quiz. That means I had a 20% gap in my learning. But then the class would just move on to the next topic, which presumably would build off of that earlier material and build off of the gaps in my learning. And the issue with this is that this process identifies those gaps in my knowledge, but it doesn't do anything to fill them. And that's problematic because those earlier topics are likely more foundational, and having those gaps in my learning with those earlier topics will make it more difficult for me to grasp the more advanced topics that come later. So how does a traditional points-based grading system compare with a mastery-based grading system? In both, there are defined learning objectives that I'm going to call standards that your instructor wants you to be able to do. In a points-based system, you have a fixed amount of time to learn something, and then you get assessed on it in a quiz or in an exam. So you have one chance to show that you know how to do that type of problem. And if you miss it, well, the class moves on to the next topic. So this system doesn't always reward student growth. If you perform worse on early quizzes or exams, that may weigh your grade down even if you improve on future quizzes and exams. In a mastery-based system, you have flexible time to learn something. Even if you don't get it right the first time on a quiz or an exam, you will have multiple opportunities to work out similar problems to demonstrate that you've mastered a particular standard. So this system supports students who learn at different speeds, and that creates a more equitable and inclusive learning environment. I've done a fair bit of research into mastery-based learning and grading, and a number of educators have used this before, both in math and in other subjects. It's even at the heart of Khan Academy's learning model. And here's a thumbnail to a talk that the founder Sal Khan gave about mastery-based learning. How do assessments and reassessments work in our class with our mastery-based grading system? So we have 15 standards, these learning objectives in our class. And I'm going to be assessing these on our quizzes, which are every 2 weeks. Each quiz will assess you on 3 of these standards. So you can find these on the syllabus, but I have an image here that has 6 of those standards, 6 out of the 15. The syllabus will show you all 15 of these. And on any quiz problem, I'm going to score it out of 0 to 4 points using our mastery rubric. So the point values here aren't the most important thing. It's really the label that goes with it. So if your work is completely correct, that is considered mastered, and that would get 4 points. If you are approaching mastery, that would be 3 points. That would be something like having a correct approach, but you just made a minor error along the way. You get 2 points if you've achieved the basics of the problem, 1 point if you're approaching the basics, and no points if I can't make an assessment of your work because there's no relevant knowledge shown. The key benefit to this is that you can improve your score. If you take a quiz problem and you're not happy with your score, you can improve it by correcting your work and coming and explaining your work to either me or the peer educators during our office hours. Then you'll take a reassessment where we give you a similar problem to the one that you missed, and then you'll work it out during our office hours. And then we'll give you a score on that reassessment. And if it's better, we will give that as your score and have it replace your original score. Then if you're happy with that, awesome, you get to keep it. If you'd like to improve it more, you can go through the process again and correct that and take another reassessment. So you can reassess multiple times up until the end of the quarter. The key requirement that I have is that you can reassess up to 2 standards per week, but you can reassess them 3 times per week. So on Monday, Wednesday, and on Friday. So your grade is ultimately going to be determined by this table that's on our syllabus. You have to earn all of the items in a particular row to earn that grade. So for example, if you've done all the items in the top row, if you've mastered, meaning you scored 4, on at least 12 of our 15 standards and earned 3 on all the others, and if you've gotten at least a 90% on the online homework and the written homework, that meets the criteria for an A. So this would get an A. As another example, suppose that a student did the following. So this student has met all the criteria for a B. With online homework, they actually exceeded the criteria for a B. They were actually meeting the criteria for an A. They got at least a 90%. They wouldn't get an A because they haven't met the criteria on quizzes or on the written homework to earn an A. Plus and minus grades will be determined by your scores on our engagement assignments. These are all assignments that require your active engagement and participation. So a bunch of these you'll see already open to you on Camino. Things like our Getting Started Google form, which is really short. It'll just tell me some information about what materials you already have access to. There's an assignment where you introduce yourself to the other students in our class, and so on. So these will total 100 points. So to get a plus grade, you have to get at least 90 out of 100 engagement points. So if you were in the B range, based on where you were on quizzes and on the homeworks, and you had at least 90 engagement points, you'd get a B plus. If you had fewer than 80 engagement points, that would be a minus grade, like maybe a B minus. And if you were between 80 to an 89, that wouldn't be a plus or a minus grade. It would be just the normal grade, like a B or a C. So on our syllabus and on Camino, I have a link to this Google Sheet that you can use to fill out your scores on our homework assignments, as well as on the standards on the quizzes, and this will auto-generate your grade for you. So this is an awesome resource that you can use to track your grade in the class. I want to end with some final takeaways about why I'm using a mastery-based grading system for our class. The first is that you have several chances to show your mastery of a course standard. If you don't get something right away, that is okay. It is totally normal and fine to make mistakes because you'll have multiple opportunities to work out similar problems through reassessments. The second is that there are clear expectations and criteria for what it takes to earn each grade. You know exactly what you need to do to get a B and to get an A, and I like that. The third thing is that you have agency to improve your grade. If you're not happy with your scores on a quiz, you'll have the opportunity to correct your work and take reassessments, as many reassessments as you'd like until the end of the quarter. So this really rewards you for your perseverance and the work that you put into improving your grade. The last thing is that it's really important to me that you feel welcome in our class. With your identity, whatever that may be, I really want our grading scheme to give flexibility to all learners, to demonstrate their knowledge, even if they don't get something on the first try. I know I don't always get something on the first go. So I really want to create a space for you to grow and to build your skills, and where you have multiple chances to show me what you've learned. So I hope this video was helpful and that it gives you a peek into my thinking behind why I'm using this mastery-based grading system. And I'm really excited to work with you this quarter.